Okay, so I will go. I had while working on Connect app, I had some doubts like internal conflicts in my mind about how when to do relationship and when to embed the document. So while I was creating the user cards, right? User cards are two types: profile and event, right? And I made the separate collection of saved items as well. So should I have used the relation in the saved item with the user card, or should I have created the embedded documents? What would be the good approach in this case?
What is the case? It has gone over my head just now. Like,
So,
can you share your screen, or maybe I don't really
yeah,
understand what you're pointing to.
I can. Can you see?
Yeah.
So if I go to connector, there is this user card collection. Okay.
Okay.
Right now, no saved collection is there because I haven't really tested it. I tested it, but I removed the collection.
Okay.
So this is the user card. It has card type, profile card, or event card, right? And there is I made the separate collection of called saved items. Uh,
Okay.
to save the user card in that collection. So,
Okay.
should I make the relationship between user card and saved items? Would that be a good approach, or I will just embed the user card in the saved item? Because anyway, I have to get the user card from save item if user is visiting his save item. If you are getting me,
Yeah. So saved item is a object inside which there are multiple user cards
yeah, correct.
on a UI point of view.
Yeah,
On a data point of view, saved card has a user card ID which it is associated with. That is all.
yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the
Currently,
right
I'm
approach.
just embedding the user card in the saved item. I created the
So you need the
data.
user card information when you're fetching the saved thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just the user card ID is not enough.
Using that, I can make a separate request, maybe. But would that be a good approach, or just embedding the document of the user card would be a better approach?
This user card, what is this user card is?
This user card is when you scan the QR codes, it will redirect the user to this collection, using the user ID and the card type.
Acha, what is there in the card data?
In the card data, there are these things like name, email, profile number. If it is a profile card, there are these things. If it is an event card, there are these things.
Okay, so this information will be fetched like when someone scans the
Yeah,
user card, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
But
why?
if a user want to save this card, suppose if he's scanning the QR code and he wants to save this card, so this card either I can embed this card into the saved item, or I can just save the ID of this card in the saved item and populate it from there using relation.
Yeah. Okay, so here is the thing. You have to ask two questions. The first question you asked well, and then you have also answered it well in your code. So that is, whether the saved item would be a large list. It can be millions now. It can be
Yeah,
thousands. It can be hundreds of thousands. So you can't exactly do like a nested object data where, a saved item has multiple, or a saved collection has multiple user cards in it. Like if you had
yeah,
done that embedding, that is very wrong. Okay,
okay,
because if a single document has more than 1,000 thing, then it is easily not filterable or searchable, or the problem. But if it is like 1,000 different items for each saved item, so if it is 1,000 different saved items, then you can just fetch it by filtering it, using the card ID, that is this object ID underscore ID, whatever you see.
Yeah.
If you want to fetch all the cards of that particular type, or of that particular card ID.
So in that case, I should make the relation between these two collection,
No, no,
or
this is
I
only
just
the
make
first
the.
question. This is only the first question which you have solved it correctly. You have not made a collection of items of collections, right? So that is good. The second question is to ask whether or not this data is static or dynamic. Whenever you want to talk about relations, you want to ask this question: will this data be static or dynamic? So is this data static or dynamic? Will in the future, if the user changes his card data information, what happens?
Hmm.
Should the saved items should also change, or should they not change? So
Hmm.
if the
Yeah,
save
that came into my mind. Yes.
so if they have to change, na, if the saved
Yeah,
data
yeah,
has to change, then the relation is a way to go, because it will populate the live information. You get me?
yeah,
But if you don't want them to have access to the saved data, like, I don't know, I have uploaded my changed my profile picture, right? But in all of your WhatsApps, my profile picture will also change, right?
yeah.
So that is actually a relation happening there. That's not as an embedding thing. So whenever you see dynamic versus static data is a good way to understand whether to use relationships or embeddings.
So I should have used the relationship here, right?
Yeah,
Because in the saved, it will also be changed.
it will also be changed. And even this card data, is this the single origin point of the card data?
Yeah,
This is where
I
the
mean,
card data exists. I mean, there is no
yeah,
duplicate of it.
no, no, no. Every user card, whether it's profile card or event card, will exist here.
Yeah. So in the user, this information, acha, okay. So this is the primary information zone.
Yeah,
So all the other collections are different. Onboarding user, they are just for
yeah,
authentication,
yeah.
maybe, or some other stuff. Yeah. Then in that
Yes.
case scenario, yes. So if there is any information change, this is the source point where it will change, right? So using this
Yep.
as a relationship marker is good. But if this is not the source point, and if it is actually pointing to a different source, then you should
Hmm.
not relation map.
Yeah. So I have to keep in mind two things, right? The data is static of the relation we are making, and what is the second thing you just told? Can you repeat?
The first one I told.
Yeah, yeah. First one, and you just told me the second thing.
What did
Right,
I
right.
tell you? Static versus dynamic. If it is a static data, then use embedded. If it is a dynamic data, then use relations.
That's
Okay,
all. Right.
that is it.
Yeah.
The second thing is source, right? If this card data source is not the original source, but let's just say this profile card information, right? Whether Chite
Yeah.
Chite Srivastava, it along with here, if it also exists in a different collection, in a data
Mhm.
collection, then it means
Yeah.
that this is not the origin source of it. Then there are two sources, whereas one is the origin source, which is somewhere else, maybe some a different users collection or profiles collection, and here you
Yeah.
are just abstracting or copy pasting that data. Then this becomes a secondary source, not the origin source. If it is a secondary source, then you making a relation out of it is pointless, because
Mm.
it is a secondary source now. Only origin
Yeah.
source items should be relationable. Secondary source items, it's not, because they have already been embedded. Most probably they will get static data, so they will get deprecated as the app moves forward. They will get
Yes.
deprecated.
Yes.
So
Correct.
not to use that.
Okay. Yeah, this is the doubt I had.
Yeah, that is it, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Vishwajit,
Acha,
yeah.
one more thing you wanted to ask about the use follow, right? Why?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you show that thing? Because it depends upon what you are trying to abstract there. So just tell the problem statement again, so that these guys understand, what you
Yeah,
were
let
talking about.
me open the code.
Yeah.
So this is the use interest, right? The problem statement was wait a minute. Where is let me open the slice. Okay, so the problem statement was to separate the follow. Should I keep the functionality of follow inside the interest, or should I abstract it into its individual functionality? So Shubhaka's thought was sometimes we don't need to abstract few things and just make it simple and keep the concern separated. Okay. But my thinking was to abstract the follow because follow is being used, could be used anywhere in the future. Follow is a very common functionality, exists in every app. So maybe abstracting that into a separate functionality would be a good idea. So this is the problem statement.
Yeah. So let me go first. The reason I said, abstracting it is not a good idea. First, let's talk about it. Okay.
Mm.
Whenever you think of any abstraction, it should have a big impact in the current app, or it should have a big impact in the future app, right?
Mhm.
Now, your consideration was that it will have a big impact in the future, right?
Yeah,
Because you see a possible future where follow will be applied to many other collections, right?
yeah,
So this is one point, and the second point is that if you are doing abstraction, what level of abstraction or where should you do the abstract? Like imagine data like circles. Okay, interest is one circle, profile is one circle, and what else are there? I don't know. Some post is one circle and course is one circle.
courses. Yeah,
One circle. These are all circles, right? When you try to place the follow as a thing in these circles, it is a subset of these circles. Are you getting
yeah,
me? It is a subset of these circles. If you try to place the authentication, among these circles, then it is an overset, superset of these circles. Okay.
mm,
So whenever something is at a superset stage, then abstracting it using Redux slice is good. I'm only talking about Redux slice, okay? Like
mm,
if you want to do the abstraction the same, you might have observed some abstractions that I constantly do, right? Uh, well, if you want to do abstraction, like if you see the follow thing as a repetitive thing that is happening in all the collections, you know,
mhm,
then that abstraction should be a repeatable instanceable. It should not be a
yeah,
singleton thing. So
mm,
since Redux is a singleton thing, that Redux is best used when it is being used as an overall app purpose. Okay.
mm,
So let's just say at any given point in the app, only there should be only a very single ton point of view. The only reason I asked you to do for this interest thing is I was hoping that it will improve the performance, but it did not improve much
okay.
of the performance.
I mean, not that much. I tested it. It increases some of the loading time, I would say, of the explore page. It
Okay.
loaded faster than before, but not that
Then
much.
but not that much anyway. So the second thing is, if you are thinking about abstracting the follow, now if it was me, I would still do the abstraction. It's just that I would do it in a SDK format, the portal SDK, or the simple class
Mm-hmm.
controller format. So basically I'll just call in new follow controller, and I'll just pass in the doc id, and then I'll click dot fetch follow status, or dot this other things, and this use follow hook or whatever it is, I'll try to use it inside the page where the follow is actually requested. Because the thing is, follow might not be only be used for a singular page. Like if you're
Yeah,
fetching a list of items and you want to check whether these list of items are followed or unfollowed, again you will have to do this. In
yeah,
actually, in this second case scenario, it is better to do this in the server side, because it will
yeah,
save us a lot of bandwidth, because of multiple, instead of sending multiple requests back to the server and again asking if it is followed, just filtering it on the server side would be better. Anyway, that is another issue entirely. But that aside, remember the first point that I asked, the first point, there were 2 points. The second point was the singleton versus repeatable, and way to use redux and way to use a different kind of abstraction pattern. Okay, so that is one thing. The first thing is was whether you see the use case of it in the current app or in the future of the app, right? If there is no use case, maybe more than three thrice, put thrice is a good
Mhm.
number. If it is only twice being used, copy pasting it is better. If it is
Okay.
more than thrice that is being used, then you should go for the abstraction pattern. Because what happens is, whenever you do an abstraction, you should also understand that it's a limitation. Every abstraction is a limitation because you cannot variate it. So let's just say the follow
Mm.
functionality in the course works differently then the follow functionality it works here. So if you
Yes.
abstract it, then it means that in both the case the functionality will be the same. But we don't want the same functionality. We wanted different functionalities here and there. So what happens is, when you enter such a crisis or such a scenario, inside the use follow hook, you pass in settings parameters,
Yeah.
and then you try to differentiate it. So what happens is, slowly that you simple use follow hook will become complicated and more
Yeah.
complicated and more complicated.
Correct.
So that's why I was saying that it might not be a good thing for readability, not for now, it for in the future maybe. Anyway, if it is again, but if it is the same thing, like if it's the odd thing, then it's
Yeah.
different, because it happens only at the entire app level now. So putting it in the Redux is the safe bet, because it's
Yeah.
Redux is like almost like async storage, that React Native async storage. It's something similar to that. So that way it is good. Did I give enough clarity on
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
my thoughts, sir?
Yes. 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 So when if I am bound to make abstraction out of this, so maybe we can try in such a way that it can be extensible in the future. Like you were saying that adding more stuff to it, maybe adding setting parameters to it, would increase the complexity, right? So why not make it more future proof, like make it extensible anytime that it- like you attended that solid principle workshop, right? It was the same kind of basis they were talking about. Like make it extensible, like any functionality I can extend it into the future according to my use. So maybe trying with that approach, maybe that would be
Yeah,
better.
that would be better, but it's again points to what it points to, like how important follow is.
Yeah, yeah, that I
In,
understand.
yeah,
Yes,
like
yes.
how important follow, like in Instagram is like important. Should we abstract the like thing so that we can use the like for other things? No, right? Because like only exists for one thing, post,
Yeah,
nothing
post.
else, right? So again, if it is like how should I say this?
Like exist in reels as well. Reels and post.
Yeah, reels and posts.
Yeah.
in stories as well.
Also stories. And,
Yeah, and chat
Yeah,
also.
so there are multiple cases now. Now you see it is being used a lot of times. So now
yeah.
abstracting it in an extendable way is good.
Hmm.
Extendable way is like see, if you are using a use follow hook abstraction pattern, then the extensibility happens in the settings parameter that you pass in. Are you getting me? If you are
Okay.
using the abstractive pattern of the controllers, that is classes, then
Yeah.
the settings happens in the constructor of the class.
Yes.
you know
Yes.
uh, both are good. Both of these are good for extensibility of the functionality. Both of these are good. Whether you use the follow hook or whether you use this, both of these are good. The thing
Mhm.
that you have to keep in mind is extensing, like the variation of it.
Hmm.
Like, is the follow variation from this thing to another thing, will it vary too much? Now I am saying this because I have witnessed a case scenario where I abstracted something.
Hmm.
Okay, I
Hmm.
abstracted something, and what happened was, in one case scenario, it became too divergent that simply putting if else statements actually elongated the file to a very large
Hmm.
length, because I had to consider different cases. And so after some time, it became not just if else. I have to do a switch case scenario.
Hmm.
Switch
I got
switch
it.
statement, case one, case two, case three. And the problem
Yeah.
is, if it would have been okay if case 1, case 2, case 3 have little lines of code. No, but that was
Mm.
not the case for me. In case 1, case 2, and case 3, each case was a big chunk of file. Are you
Mm.
getting me? So that was a bad abstraction there.
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
that abstraction, I faced even more difficulties. So
Mm.
it is. I guess it comes with experience. I'm not saying, for some reason I believe that follow should not be abstracted in the Redux. Correct.
Mm.
It should
Correct.
be it should be abstracted in the, whether in the hook pattern,
Maybe a class.
maybe a class, or class is better actually, instead
Yeah.
of the hook thing, because hooks will, and maybe hook is better anyway. That's something I'll have to think about it when I sit down on it. But anyway,
I
any
mean,
of these two
if there
abstractions are
are
fine.
no state functions, maybe extracting it to the class is much better.
Yeah,
Otherwise, hooks is much better if
otherwise
there
hooks
are
is
state.
much better. If there is any variable which affects the UI, then
Yeah.
hooks is better, because
Yeah.
states are nothing but something that affects the UI, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
anyway, I was only just saying that Redux abstraction is not good. That is all. I think the other abstraction, whether you want to abstract it there or there, is also good. It's just that I thought it was not that important. Are you
Yeah.
getting?
No, I was thinking about the future. That's
Yeah,
why.
thinking about the future, right?
Yeah.
Where when I was thinking, like, where would the follow be abstracted in multiple patterns in the future, I was only
Yeah.
thinking about two things. One is course, and the other is interest. I don't
Yeah.
see any other place where follow would be abstracted. Like, I don't know, if creators are following each other, then that would be an entirely different
Yeah.
follow.
Entirely different.
That
Yes.
that would be entirely different, so it would not make sense there. Maybe trying to call it follow is less the better than trying to call it as a boolean thing. Maybe abstracting it on a boolean level might be actually more helpful, because you can also include the likes as well
Yeah. Correct.
into it.
Yes.
So that abstraction might be useful. And again, that the only abstraction that really matters are, you know that are quite used well. Are you getting me? If they are
Mm.
used 10 times or 20 times, that is a very good abstraction. Are
Mm.
you getting me?
Yeah.
If it is so, whatever should happen inside the abstraction should be very simple.
Mm.
So that way it will. I'll give you one example. Now, there is this someone called, in the other thing, in the other project I worked on. Someone created a state, or a derivative of state, called use linked state. Okay.
Okay.
Use linked state is a function setter that sets the state, not in the local storage and not in the React state as well. It sets the state variable in the URL. You see that question mark parameter
Yeah.
sequence,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how Google search works is, whenever you change the page number changes in the URL bar as well.
Yes.
So they created an abstraction called use linked state, which is the same way. You have to use it the same way like the React use state, like const, bracket, some variable, set variable, is to use state, like that.
Mhm.
So here you will just write use linked state, and it will automatically does not set the state in the native storage or in the state storage, but it will set it in the URL. So it will do that mapping to the window URL.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that was a very good abstraction, because that was used not only in that one repository, most probably in all repositories which where the URL parameter was changing in the window
Yeah.
URL. It can be reused again. So that was a fantastic abstraction. So that's why I'm saying, like, if the abstraction is really useful, then it's worth it to do the abstraction. If you're doing the other reason we are usually abstract now is to just to simplify the code. You don't
Yeah.
want all the
Make it
code to be in a
readable.
single file, so we just do the abstraction. So that is also okay, but that is a simple abstraction, I'd say.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect that much, anyways. But the other thing, that use boolean that I just said now, that might be impactful, because it
Mm.
can be reused again for like or dislike or follow, for any but it has to be very, as you said, extensible. If it can be
Yeah.
extensible, then it would be much better.
Yeah. That makes it much clearer.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one question with this. So, what if we have to show like someone has followed one post, we also have to show that these guys are following this, like somewhere in the post below it or somewhere in another component. So how will we update it on a real time if if we are not using Redux?
If we are not using Redux, then it's
And
context provider, no?
okay, so we use context or just move it the hook to the previous parent component and
So the
like
problem is, at a very low level, when the app is at an MVP phase, you don't need to worry too much about it. You can just pass the parameters as, children parameters, and then you can just set it. That is okay. But when the project becomes complicated, okay, so when the project becomes complicated and when there are multiple components, what happens is usually this follow, toggle follow, or follow, fetch follow that shit is calling, right? This might happen in a sub component. So you want to reflect that at a sibling component. Are you
Yeah.
getting me? So there is a parent component, and inside that there is a child component. There somewhere, shit is doing the follow and follow the sub component, and in the sibling component, you want to update the follow status. So if this is the case scenario, you can't pass the parameters from here to here. The only way is to set the state, to do the follow thing at the parent level and pass the parameters down the line to the children.
As a
That,
prop.
yeah. But the problem with doing that pattern is it is subjected to change. What happens if there are in between childs, in between components here? If some abstraction
Yes.
happens, we can't do anything. That's why we use context providers. Now in the context provider, we do all the things that we do, and then you can call it from any component, which are whatever it is. The only thing that important thing that you have to remember, at least from my understanding of how context provider works, is at the current moment is the initiation of it, that fetching the follow status, or the first initiation of it. It is better not to do it inside the context provider hook. What happens is if you do it inside the hook, the instance when the provider is being constructed, it is being slowed down. So what you can do is this: there exists this child component where Chidich initially wanted to place the follow thing, right? So you can just return a callback, so called initiate follow thing or something like that from the context
Mm.
provider, and you can call that here in Chidich component. So this will trigger the context provider's setup of the follow status. And similarly, Vishwajit's component, that is the sibling component, can also fetch the follow status whenever it was initiated. Until then, you can show a loading spanner or something like that. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
That is a good pattern, I think. This is the reason I am saying this is because if you try to do that initiation directly in the use effect, in that context provider, it is functioning weirdly. It is not exactly functioning like when the component page is being constructed. It is not functioning like that because the context provider is a wrapper, na? Above the parent component, it is a wrapper, so that use effect is being called even before the child component is being rendered.
Yeah.
So that is creating problems in the speed of rendering. You guys
Should
following me?
I?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got
Should
it.
I unshare it?
Yeah, yeah. Guess that is it here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
Okay. Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead. Manish, were you listening?
Yes. Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with from the beginning of the CI/CD. So first we'll understand like what is the use, like what was the problem statement of the CI/CD that it is solving. So
Hmm.
what happened was before people whenever in the production code, the production is running on a cloud server in a remote server. So whenever you change something in the GitHub, you'll have to copy all that change and maybe git pull on that server using SSH. I'll explain SSH in a short later. So you will do like all the steps like npm run build and npm start again on the remote server and update the server, production server, manually. So CI/CD is for automating that. So basically, CI/CD, there are two things in it. First is continuous integration CI and continuous deployment or delivery in CD. So continuous integration is just the code part, like the part before the deployment, like pushing the change on GitHub and testing it and building it. And the CD is part where we deploy it on a server automatically from that. So there are these steps, like checking the, okay. So this is the ideal condition, ideal pipeline for the CI/CD, which should be followed. So first, whenever we push change, there should be X number of reviewers in ideal condition. So when these guys review the code initially and check if there are any issues, and if they think it is good, they will just approve it in a PR, and it will start the build process. So how it will happen is, for that we have GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions are like steps that you mention to follow after you push any changes to the PR. So like these are written in a like this way. So for GitHub Actions, we have to create a .git file on the root of the project with the workflows folder in it, and these file you can name it anything, but it should be YML file, and YML file syntax is like this.
I
So
have a quick question.
yeah,
So there is this on push branches main, right? So does that
yeah,
push indicate a common push, or does that also indicate PR merges?
it includes all of these, like also common push and PR also.
And it will only pick the last pushed commit, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Go on.
Yeah. So from the name, like from the text itself, you can understand what is happening. Like whenever there is a change, there is a push on this branch, do these things. So first we will run a Ubuntu computer on GitHub. So basically, GitHub Action is not free. So this is the pricing of GitHub Action. So we only have 2,000 minutes per month and the storage. So like this is too much for us. Like this by 2,000 minutes is too much. So I think we can work on that. So yeah. So this happened, like we are creating a Ubuntu machine, and we are this code means we are in that Ubuntu machine, we are like pushing all this pulling all this code into that machine. So
Mm.
either you can follow this step, or you can just write your own, like git clone this repository and uh, do all the thing. But this thing is written by some other people, and it works. So it is better to use this because it is more optimized. So after this, remember I told you about SSH. So SSH is this, its full form is secure shell. So basically, the computer running remotely, it is a way to access that computer in your local computer. So for
Mm.
that, you need to like create some SSH keys and add it to the like its configuration or somewhere. And this
So
thing
just to
is,
give some
yeah,
So just to
I
get some clarity, it's okay. Just to get some clarity, this SSH is being run in the Ubuntu latest, where the code is
yeah,
checked out, are
yeah,
downloaded into the Ubuntu latest. From the
yeah,
Ubuntu latest, it is connecting via SSH to our droplet. Correct?
yeah, yeah. And this thing, all of this is running in GitHub Action, like GitHub.
Ubuntu latest, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ubuntu
yeah,
latest.
yeah. So this way we are connecting to SSH. So this secrets file, so GitHub has its own secret like environment variables. So you can add these secrets here, like code security for this secrets and actions. So you'll just create your secret here and add the secret, and you can access these like uh, this. So this way this is to connect to that droplet. So we have also created a IP of that secret IP, and we are connecting here. This is just the initial setup of this that SSH. This is also like this. There is a code written already by someone for SSH connection. So this is this, and okay. So after this step, we are connected to the SSH. So after this, every command will run on SSH. So after this, you just need to like do start your server, like how you do it on local computer, like
Okay.
cd to app and check out. to the main. So if there are multiple branches, you need to check out to main. So Git also works on SSH. So you can also here instead you can create a dev branch or somewhere. So it will check out and update that code of other branch and run that also. Like so, this is all the simple starting the server and all. And this is for PM2. Manish, I think don't know. So you can consider it as npm start. I think.
Yeah.
So this is just starting the server. So this is the GitHub action.
So one
So
second now.
yeah,
So if we are doing the git checkout main in that server like digital main, why do we need to do the step one checkout code? What?
this is to like if you are on a different branch, like if you are on dev branch, and this is for uh, copying this repository to this Ubuntu.
Why do you need to copy that repository into Ubuntu?
So it doesn't have it already. Like Ubuntu, if we are creating a new machine, it doesn't have our code already. So we have to add it here.
Yeah, I'm saying like Ubuntu latest, it is not running. Ubuntu latest is not running our code, right? Our code is being run inside the SSH thing. That means it is being run in the tech team at the rate. Are
Yeah,
you getting me? So
yeah.
why does it the code needs to be checked out in the Ubuntu latest? Uh,
No, I mean the code is running remotely on some computer, right? So
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the Ubuntu latest computer which is running its own shell,
yeah,
SSH.
yeah.
yeah,
That's why I'm saying like the SSH makes sense like, because that
yeah.
Ubuntu. But why does it need to check out the code? Are you getting me?
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So SSH
So
makes sense, but
yeah, this
why
step
does
we can
this?
do this now. Like this is not required if we are connecting with SSH. So after this, we'll already have the code.
Yeah, we'll
So
already have the code in the droplet now. So
yeah,
I
so
don't
yeah,
know if removing that is gonna create some new issues. You can just try it out,
yeah, yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
guessing it should not, from what you said.
yeah,
And the second thing is, can we not do any runs on instead of runs on Ubuntu latest? Is there a
yeah.
way for us to run on our own Ubuntu?
Our own Ubuntu.
Like not the GitHub Ubuntu, that the Ubuntu provided by the GitHub, but the Ubuntu that we have, whether it's
Okay.
DigitalOcean Ubuntu or some other Ubuntu.
I don't think it will work because GitHub Action requires a machine to run. So if it doesn't
Okay.
have the Ubuntu, so
Yeah,
it
I
even
think
for
won't
the
work.
GitHub
SSH
Action.
connection, it needs a machine to run.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think GitHub Action will run on Ubuntu latest of GitHub only by default.
yeah, yeah. This Ubuntu will run the GitHub Action,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
we are
In that
connecting
case
the
scenario,
SSH.
what we can do is like to further optimize the minutes now,
Yeah,
that GitHub provides us 2000 minutes per month. So currently
yeah,
what is happening is the Ubuntu will not quit until the git checkout main, git pull origin main, cd server, npm run build, pm2 restart, sense.api, all of this stuff is done in the
yeah,
SSH thing. Until
yes,
then, it will not quit. So that means
yes,
it is a lot of minutes. So what we can do is this at least this Ubuntu latest machine is only required for us to do the SSH connection and then initiate a process in the server where it will do all these steps: git checkout main, git pull origin main. It will do it itself. Are you getting me?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that way, what happens is this end of file will happen much faster, and we'll be saving more minutes. In the GitHub, that thing can be set up either in a Docker, like Docker, right?
yeah, yeah. Docker and so
Yeah.
interesting. Like, can you repeat what did you say? Like to optimize this?
So what is happening currently is it is connecting to the SSH. Now this Ubuntu
Yeah,
latest is connecting via SSH to the our server,
yeah,
and inside
yeah,
our server it is doing cd app sense git checkout main, git
yeah,
policy origin. It is doing all these steps, and until all these steps it is done, it is not calling the end of file.
yeah,
Are you getting me? Like instead
yeah,
of that, what we can do is we'll just do the SSH connection, and once the SSH connection is done, somehow we
yeah.
need to trigger a process in the server where it will do all these steps by itself once the process is
Oh,
triggered.
okay.
Are you getting me?
So yeah, yeah, I got it. So all of this should be in the server.
Like it should not wait
Yeah,
until all of that steps is done for the end of file. It should, once the process is triggered, it will immediately call end of file. That is it.
Yeah.
So this
Okay.
way, the negative thing is that, although we are saving on the minutes, can you click the actions thing?
Uh,
Actions tab.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be incorrect because we are just triggering it. We are not making sure whether
Yeah.
or not the trigger is actually being built. So that is the
Yeah.
negative thing. How many minutes did one
It
single deployment take?
requires 38 seconds, around 38 seconds.
That is too low, no? Can you click
Yeah.
what is happening inside it?
Inside it, it's just all of these steps that I. Yeah, this.
1 second,
You can
28
remove this part.
seconds. Yeah, the deploy to DigitalOcean 28 seconds. Can you click
Yeah,
that?
it has like all of these building and all is happening.
So there is no npm I,
npm I wait, it is there.
because npm I is usually the step that takes the most amount of
Okay.
yeah, if there is no npm I, that's why it is being built in
Okay.
28 seconds. Otherwise it will
Yeah.
do a
But
lot.
yeah, I can add it. But even if there is npm I, it won't increase much time because we already have the node modules. Like it
Yeah,
will just
like no,
yeah
that's why people use Docker. Problem is,
yeah
yeah, the inside the Docker na, what you can do is you can check whether or not npm I needs to be run or not at all. I don't know. I don't have done this before, but I
yeah
think I have seen people done this. So,
yeah
Yeah, you can write conditional statements there.
yeah,
You can
condition.
write conditional statements in the actions too, actually.
yeah. Like Docker automatically caches it. So if there is no change in package.json, it will not
Oh, okay.
run
Yeah.
that.
So it's much.
So is it the only way to go, like GitHub action for the CI/CD
There are
currently?
multiple ways like Jenkins, and there is GitLab and
Yeah,
Bitbucket.
Jenkins is the one I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So
But that thing is standalone or connected with GitLab?
I'm not sure. I've not like learned it yet, but I will I'll write
Okay.
an article and understand everything related to that.
I
So
have worked on Jenkins, but I couldn't understand it. How is it connected with another things?
GitHub Actions is primarily to detect, like these are like webhooks, basically code webhooks,
Yeah,
which can detect
yeah,
whenever there is a push. That is the main thing, right? Otherwise
yeah,
you don't even need to do that. If you just want to trigger pm to restart or git checkout main, you can just create a different way to do that directly using the server side, but the server would not know when the push is happening. Only the GitHub
yeah.
Actions know when the
yeah,
push happens. So that's why we
So
use
yeah,
GitHub.
I think GitHub Action will also be involved in Jenkins and others as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Jenkins is a really powerful tool,
Yeah,
Subhakar. We can use it for CI/CD. I mean, that is used like everywhere
Okay.
yeah,
nowadays.
Yeah. Please explain. I mean,
Yeah,
Vishwajit, you can dig more into
yeah,
Jenkins as well, and then you can
yeah.
tell us.
So now I'll tell Docker. So
Yeah.
the problem statement with Docker was like uh, imagine that you have a different computer, like you have Mac, and you don't have the tools required to run a project. So I have Node version of 18 and you have 22 or something. So if the code runs on my machine, it is not sure that it will run in your machine. So you'll have to degrade your node version to run my code or something. Like this is a lot of steps. So to fix this, so we have Docker, which will run separately. In this Docker, you will mention like what tools we need, like the images we call these. Like there is an image for Node.js. So you will mention that we need this version of Node.js for this project. So wait, I'll show you the code. So
There is Docker
basically,
file there.
uh, like, yeah, this is a simple Docker file code. Uh, so in this, what happens is we need to run the project. These are again the steps we need to write for running the project. So like we'll need a Node.js image. This is an image. So Docker has two things. One is image and one is container. So container image is like a software or a tool which you can also create your own, and you can run this image in a container. Like whenever you combine all the images and you run it, it runs in a container which is detached from your computer. Like you know about
Mm.
VMware, right? Virtual
Yeah.
machine. So
Yeah.
like this, it will run separately from your computer, and it will only have the things that you have mentioned here, like this Node.js. So what is happening here is it is a simple code. Uh, but we'll need a Node.js this version. This is a Linux version something, and we are creating a working directory of app in the Docker. So Docker currently has nothing; it just has Node.js, and we are creating an app folder. And this means copy everything from your local machine to the Docker. Like copy everything where the Docker file is. Like here, the Docker file is here. So everything here, it will copy to Docker. This means this. Copy every local. First is local and then is Docker. Docker container.
That
Mm.
is
So
the app folder, right?
yeah, this app. So
Yes.
Docker will have everything in the app folder, what you had here. This.
Okay.
So after this, you will just run the steps like install and this start the server. And this means so basically the Docker is running separately from your computer. Like it is not connected to it. So the ports running in the Docker will not be equal to the ports running in your local. Like 3000 port running in the Docker with this will not reflect on your 3000 port in your local. So
Mm.
to connect this, you expose the ports. Like uh, you want 3000 port to be common between Docker and your local. So you write this to expose this. So this was a simple Docker file. So this is a more optimized, a better way to do this. What we have here. So what happens here is like this. We are uh, importing the Node.js image. So this okay. So this image is coming from Docker Hub. So if you don't know about Docker Hub, there is a Docker Hub like GitHub. So it
Yeah.
has multiple images, and you can also create your own image. And like this, to import this image, you just need to like use its tag uh, like this. First, write the name of this like Sense app, and then the like this. Yeah. To pull an image, you need to write this, and instead of this, here it is happening like this. Like we are importing the Node.js image, and we are creating a we are labeling it as base. So labeling has its own use. I'll tell you what is its use later. So we are importing this Node.js in a base, and we are creating a working directory of server, like a server folder in the Docker. And again, from the base, we need the Node.js. So from base, we are creating a new label for deps. Like this will be for the dependencies. Like we will install the packages here.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
this file you can ignore. It is for a fix. There was a dependency issue, so it is for the fix of that. You can ignore it. It will not be required mostly. So yeah, here what happens is we are in the local machine. You have this server package JSON. So from the server package JSON, copy that package JSON to Docker directory. Currently we are here in the server directory. So copy the package JSON to the directory, and also the package log JSON copy it to Docker, and check if there is a package JSON, then clean install it. So we are not installing with the package JSON. If we do the npm install, it will install based on the package JSON and update the package log JSON.
Mm.
But if we have resolved some issues, conflicts in the package JSON, package log JSON, uh, so it will, with the clean install npm CI, it will install based on the package log JSON. So yeah, this is if there is no package JSON, we will just return with error. Okay, yeah. So we are creating one more label here for the builder. So this was for first was base with which has the node. and other
Yeah.
is dependency, which has all the dependencies. Now we are building the project, so we have uh, moved to the server directory and copied from the depths. So this is the use of the labeling, and here from the depths we are this directory will not have the things which are there in this and this. So if we want to use anything from here and here, we'll just need to copy it from this. Like if we want the node modules from this we have created here, we can just copy it from like we'll copy it. This is not copying from the local now because we have added this. This is copying from the depths. So depth has this. We are copying to the Docker now in the builder. So builder has now the node modules. So we will just also copy the code now. Like we from the local we are copying the server folder to Docker now,
Yeah.
and then yeah, after this just building it and then build here.
Why are we copying again in the previous thing? Like
Okay,
copy
this
server to that?
yeah, this is to
This is the
encode
code.
the mod. Yeah, and this is the whole code. We need the code to build it, right? Like we need the whole code so we can build it.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
previously you copied it, right?
No,
yeah.
that was
Previously,
only package.json.
yeah, yeah. It was all the node modules we copied here.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
and we are copying the code now.
Mm.
So yeah, we are building it here, and now we have the builder, and we have like we have to run it now. So we are creating a runner again
Mm.
and working directory of server and installing this. And PM2 will require it later to start the. If we are not using PM2, you can just use the npm start.
I have
So
a question.
yeah,
If you are using PM2,
yeah,
then this PM2 is running inside the Docker container, right?
yeah, yeah,
So again, you'll have to expose the 3100 or expose
yeah,
4100
exactly.
or whatever that is.
Yeah,
So let's just say this Docker container crashes,
yeah,
then the PM2 will not be able to restart, right?
yeah,
If the
yeah,
process crashes, it will be able to restart because it is running inside the PM2. Like,
yeah,
npm run start crashes because of an error, then at least it
yeah,
will be able to restart because it is running inside the process manager. But if the Docker itself, the container itself crashes, then
yeah,
that is it. Someone has to
yeah,
manually again run this thing.
yeah, yeah.
So
So yeah, that
if the Docker crashes, will it auto run again?
no, it will not. But there might be some ways to do that. I'll
Yeah,
learn it more. And,
yeah. Just remember the edge cases that we are asking
yeah,
you. Try
yeah.
to
Okay.
the go forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are creating two users. We cannot give every access to every user. So this user will not have the access of root. Uh, so yeah. Now we are copying from builder all the build files and from the builder also the node modules because we only need these things to start the server.
Yeah.
The node modules and lib. Lib
Yeah.
folder has the build files. So now we are using this non-root user and exposing the ports before it and just importing the keys. So these keys will I'll tell you how to get this. So yeah, this is starting. So this Docker file, how to run this? There are two ways to run this Docker file in production. So the first way is to use the Docker compose file. Docker compose, you can just mention that which file to run. Uh, okay. So what happens here is this is also a YML file, Docker compose.yml. This version is the Docker compose version. It should be like this here. Okay. So we can add multiple services here. So if it was a mono repo, we can just add multiple services like this, another service with another name and context. We can add the relative path to it and its Docker file path here. Okay. So currently Docker file is. at the root. So we are mentioning like this, and context is the whole code now. And exporting, we are also exposing the port here. So Docker Compose runs the container, so it also needs to expose it, and also environment variables need to pass. And this volumes is also like this. So this is the uh, local server, and this is, you need to give it the access of things, like what things you need in the Docker file. You need the server, uh, and the we are ignoring this two lines means we are ignoring the node modules and the lib folder currently which were there here, like at the root.
Mm.
So it doesn't take the previous node modules which were there in the Docker. So this was the way to start the Docker file using Docker Compose. So the other way, in the GitHub action, what we have to do this to start this is to just copy these things and remove the this part. Okay, yeah. So what happens is we are currently uh, like removing the previous running Docker file, Docker Compose container, and building a new one. We need to build the Docker Compose and then starting a new one here from the updated Docker file. So this was the way to do using the Docker Compose file. So there is other way to start from an image, and that is yeah, like this. So like in Docker Hub here, oops, yeah. So you can like GitHub, you can host your code Docker image in Docker Hub, and you can run that from this image, run that whole code from this image. So here, but what is happening is we are currently logging to Docker, logging in like with the
Mm.
Docker username and token. We can create these things in the settings somewhere. There must be a way like to get
Yeah,
these tokens. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like secrets, you can know how to add the secrets, and you, with this you have the access of Docker now, your Docker, and after this line means we are updating the Docker image, like git push. We update the GitHub. Like that, we need also update the Docker image. So we are
Mm.
updating the Docker file with the Docker building
script.
and pushing. We are building and pushing the image to Docker Hub. This is the process to push and build the image to Docker Hub. But this is not starting it. To start it, we need to do it like, what is it? Okay, so yeah, to start it, you just need to like run that. Wait, what is- Yeah, this. So you will pull this pull code. You
Image.
know,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
code is this. You can just copy this and add it here. You will pull the latest image which you deployed in the previous step, and you will pull it, stop the previous container, and remove it and start a new one, and give it the ports which you need to expose and the file environment variable file. So it will start like this. So this was the second way to start using the Docker Hub image.
And the last line here, I think this can run on your, if you want to run any image
Yeah,
on your local. Like if
yeah,
you have
yeah,
Docker container installed, you
yeah,
can just run this line into
yeah,
there and the image will run on your local.
yeah,
Yeah, with the port exposed.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Got it.
yeah, this was about Docker. What else?